folks. The questions have been completed, and now we'll ask our candidates to provide us with closing statements. Again, by the coin flip, it's determined that Mr. Caligiuri will have the first closing statement.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all very much, as Chris did a few moments ago, for not only being here, but for actually sticking with us when you had every reason to flee, when you could. But I hope that you've seen that while there are some things that Congressman Murphy and I agree on, there are a lot that we disagree on. And we have fundamentally different visions for where we need to take this country and how we solve the problems that are central to each and every one of us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm running for Congress because I think our country is heading in the wrong direction. And I'm absolutely convinced, and the proof is in the pudding all around us, that the fiscal policies being advanced by Congressman Murphy and his allies in Washington have succeeded only in growing the size of the federal government, increasing the cost, and therefore making it almost impossible for the private sector to grow jobs. You see, I start from the premise that this election is all about getting our economy turned around. And so the question is, which one of our visions, which one of our views is the best, in your judgment, for getting us turned around? I stand here absolutely convinced that the approach that's been taken over the last 4 years has been a complete failure. Our deficit has gone from $150 billion when Chris Murphy took office to $1.6 trillion. Our spending has gone from 20% of the gross domestic product to 25% of the gross domestic product. And yet, we have nearly 10% unemployment nationally, 9% unemployment in Connecticut, double-digit unemployment in major cities throughout the 5th District. We were supposed to be growing 3.5 million new jobs. We've lost more than we've gained. We're supposed to be growing the economy at least at 3% of the gross domestic product in order to keep employment levels stable. We've been growing the economy at 1.67% of gross domestic product. By every single objective measure, the approach being advocated today with the support of Congressman Murphy has failed us. I'd like to do something very different. And it starts by bringing real fiscal responsibility back to Washington, D.C. That means cutting spending, including making sure the stimulus doesn't become a permanent part of the federal budget because it's done almost nothing to grow the economy, but only to grow the size of the federal government. Putting tough, enforceable spending caps in place on the entire federal budget so that we can force both parties. Because the fact is, Republicans became almost as bad as the Democrats when it came to spending in Washington. We need to force Congress in both parties to make sure they do what they say they're going to do. And then, when we get spending under control, we can keep tax rates low, starting by making sure the 01 and 03 tax cuts are fully extended, lowering the corporation tax from 35 to 25%, and then making sure we don't pass horrific regulations like cap and trade that are going to stifle job growth. That will allow the private sector to grow jobs. That will allow us all to prosper. That's why I'm running to be your congressman, and that's why I'm asking for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
And a closing statement, 3 minutes for Mr. Murphy.
Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you to my friend, Senator Caligiuri. Frankly, I wish that some of the other candidates that have been debating statewide could see our debates because I think we conduct them in a way that befits the honor of this office. I spend a lot of my time when I'm here in Connecticut knocking on doors. I do it not just as a means of campaigning, but as a means for the entire 2-year tenure to get a feel for what people are really going through out there. And I'll never forget a gentleman that I ran into earlier this year in Torrington, Connecticut. He told me that he had gotten injured, and because of his injury, he had lost his job. And by losing his job, he lost his health care insurance. But his bills had piled up, thousands upon thousands of dollars. And his family eventually had to make a decision. They either had to stop paying their mortgage and lose their house, or they had to start going into their son's college savings. They met as a family, and their son decided that they needed to stay in the house that he had grown up with, that they lived in for their entire life, and that he wouldn't go to college, that he would just start working and save up enough money to hopefully go someday. That's an unacceptable situation, not only for that family, but for this country's economy. We are restraining the growth of this nation by accepting the status quo as it exists today. The solution isn't easy, but leadership never is. And the fundamental question in this election is whether we move backwards, repeal legislation on the books today, and adopt the same policies that got us into this economic mess in the first place. More tax cuts for the wealthy, less tax cuts for the middle class, increased deficits, and more protection for the companies that outsource our jobs? Or are we going to have a positive vision for the future? Has this economy turned around in a year and a half? Absolutely not. But the answer isn't to reverse to the same set of policies that put us in this situation. The answer is to continue to invest in innovation, to continue to invest in education, to stand up to the companies that are outsourcing our jobs, and to invest in companies that keep jobs here rather than in companies that send our jobs overseas. This election, in the end, over the course of the next 6 weeks, can't just be about a complaint regarding the situation that we're in today. This is unacceptable for the families that I represent. We need to move ourselves past this period of stasis. But the way we do that is by investing in the policies that support the middle class, that support small businesses, and support domestic manufacturers, not by returning to the exact same set of economic policies that wrought this disaster in the first place. It has been the honor of my life to do this job over the past 2 terms. I've enjoyed every moment of it, and the fact that we would have so many people out here today investing again in this election gives me faith in the people of this district and this democracy. I ask you for your support next Tuesday, and I thank you for being here with us tonight.
Before we go tonight, I want to thank the candidates. Also, the Robbins Middle School, the co-sponsors, the Burlington, Farmington, Plainville, Plymouth, and Boca Chambers of Commerce, and of course our presenting sponsor, the Central Connecticut Chambers of Commerce. Good night, and a safe trip home.
He meant 6 days, instead of 6 weeks. Here I'm saying 6 weeks instead of 6 days. Maybe that's right. It's right here. 6 weeks.
Oh, highlight that one.
I will.
Not quite as exciting as before.
Not at all.
Yeah. Nice to see you again.
I assume we're going to see.
He said that he got injured on the job and lost his job.
The bottom line is that there's no right to a college education.
It's good. Thank you for being here. Yeah, that was good. That was our best one. It was nice that we sort of focused on the issue.
Bring back any old memories?
I don't know. You still got that one. How many of those do you have?
Well, we sold about 250. I got about 10 left.
Did you sell them? Did you sell them all?
$15 each.
Make profit off them?
Made a profit.
Entrepreneurship.
Listen, January 6th was the culmination of our success.
Good to see you again, Tyler.
Bye-bye.